The bank manager is shivering. He just called the police because $900 trillion suddenly appeared in your account. My child, before I speak plainly, let me whisper this the way secrets are born, slowly, quietly, almost like it is not meant for ears yet. Something shifted before you noticed. Not with noise. Not with light. But with a pause so heavy it made the air tighten. The kind of pause that makes a grown man forget how to breathe for a second. The kind that makes hands tremble even though the room is warm. I was there before the phone rang. I was there when the bank manager stared at the screen and blinked once, then twice, then leaned closer as if his eyes were lying to him. I watched his smile try to form and fail. I watched his throat move as he swallowed fear instead of words. I watched his fingers hover over the keyboard, frozen, because what he was seeing did not belong to his understanding of reality. And no, my beloved, it was not about money the way humans think of money. It never is. But let me begin where your heart can follow. You were not meant to know immediately. That is why this arrived wrapped in confusion. Heaven does not always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it enters disguised as shock, disbelief, and trembling hands. The number appeared where emptiness used to be. A number so large it broke the rules the system believed in. A number so impossible it felt illegal just to look at it. The manager laughed once, nervously, like someone who laughs when standing too close to a cliff. Then his face drained of color. Because systems are built on limits. And what he saw had none. He refreshed the screen. Nothing changed. He called a colleague over. The colleague stopped breathing mid-step. Someone whispered, "This can't be right." Someone else whispered your name like it was a mistake. That is when fear entered the room. Not fear of you, but fear of the unknown. Fear of being the one present when something impossible chooses to appear. Humans fear miracles before they celebrate them. They call them errors first. Threats second. And only later, blessings. So yes, he called the police. Not because you did something wrong. But because his mind had no shelf to place what heaven had done. And while phones rang and footsteps hurried and voices lowered, you were somewhere else entirely. Living your ordinary moment, unaware that the spiritual balance sheet had just been revealed in physical symbols. Listen to me now, gently. This is not about literal trillions. This is not about currency printed on paper or numbers that buy buildings. Heaven does not measure wealth that way. Heaven uses numbers only when humans need symbols strong enough to shake them awake. What appeared was proof. Proof that what you have carried unseen has weight. Proof that what you endured silently accumulated value. Proof that nothing you survived was wasted. For a long time, you believed you were behind. You believed others were richer, in love, in support, in ease, in opportunity. You believed your patience went unnoticed. Your restraint unrewarded. Your sacrifices forgotten. But heaven has an accounting system humans cannot audit. Every night you held yourself together instead of breaking. Every time you chose not to retaliate. Every time you walked away when your ego wanted to fight. Every tear you swallowed so others would not see your pain. All of it was deposited. Quietly. Consistently. Faithfully. You thought nothing was happening because nothing was loud. But growth rarely makes noise underground. The reason this revelation arrives as shock is because you were not meant to chase it. If you had known, it would have changed your posture. It would have invited pride or fear or impatience. So it stayed hidden until your spirit was strong enough to remain soft. Now let me tell you why the manager shook. Some souls carry abundance that disrupts systems. Some lives expose how small the world's measurements truly are. Your energy does not fit into neat categories. When blessing flows toward you, it overflows containers built for scarcity. That is why people panic before they understand. That is why they question before they congratulate. Beloved, the noise you hear around you is not chaos, it is translation. The police, the calls, the whispers, these are not warnings of danger, but symbols that heaven is moving in ways that cannot be understood by structures built on fear. Every system that tries to contain you begins to tremble when divine authorization enters your timeline. This trembling is not punishment, it is response. The earth knows when something holy arrives. It does not always rejoice immediately, it quakes first. Do not mistake the shaking for rejection. Do not assume that resistance means you are wrong. When heaven breathes through a human life, the atmosphere must adjust. The familiar loses its predictability, the ordinary becomes unsure, and people begin to react, not to you, but to the unseen wind that you carry. They sense a permission upon your spirit that their logic cannot grant. That permission frightens them because they have been taught to earn everything, even love. You, however, are a sign that some things cannot be earned, they can only be embodied. Because when heaven moves, the world always asks, is this allowed? And I tell you, beloved, permission was granted long before your birth. The signature of your purpose was written in light before your first cry echoed through human air. Before the fear, before the doubt, before every detour of guilt, there was already divine approval. The only delay was not in your destiny, it was in your acceptance of it. Heaven was never waiting for the world to approve you. It was waiting for you to stop apologizing for being chosen. Do you remember how many times you almost gave up? How many mornings felt hollow, how many prayers evaporated before reaching your own courage? You asked questions not because you lacked faith, but because faith was stretching its wings inside a small space. You cried not because you were weak, but because your soul remembered something larger than what your eyes could see. Every "nothing is changing" moment was a seed in disguise, sinking deeper into the soil of divine timing. And heaven watched. Not to measure your productivity, but to witness your purity. The test, beloved, was never about performance. The universe wasn't watching to see how quickly you could manifest results. The test was designed to see if your kindness could survive the famine. Could you stay gentle when blessings seemed delayed? Could you still pray when every sign pointed to silence? Could you choose gratitude when your hands were empty but your heart was full of ache? You did. You kept showing up, whispering quiet thank yous to a sky that gave no visible response. And that faith, that invisible tenderness, drew divine eyes toward you like light draws dawn. So heaven marked your name differently. There is now a glow around it unseen by human sight, but recognized by the spirit world. Angels utter it softly when they move through the corridors of assignment and protection. Your name has become a vibration that opens gates, the kind of gates no money can buy and no influence can unlock. When heaven marks you, no earthly system can unmark you. This is why the message comes through an angel and not through headlines. The news does not announce the quiet victories of the soul. The headlines report explosions, scandals, and fear because that is what the world rewards. Heaven rewards purity, surrender, patience. It speaks privately because holy things still prefer whispers over microphones. When the sacred enters your life, it often comes disguised as subtle peace, not spectacle. That is why I speak to your heart, not to your screens, not to your followers, not to your bank app, not to your resume. Because if you learn to understand the symbols without clinging to their surfaces, you will receive what they represent in the form most aligned with grace, not ego. The external signs are projections of inner readiness. Heaven does not send wealth to a person trying to prove their worth. It sends wealth to a heart that already knows it is enough. What is coming into your life now carries a purity similar to your waiting season. It will not arrive with anxiety or competition. It is provision without fear. Security without control. Influence without corruption. Comfort without guilt. The blessings that are forming around you will feel natural, not forced. Like rivers remembering where to flow, like doors remembering the rhythm of your knock. You will begin to notice small changes first. Interactions that feel lighter. Conversations that return dignity. Opportunities that align with your peace, not your panic. You will realize one morning that what once exhausted you no longer holds power. The world will keep spinning in urgency while you begin to move in serenity. And that serenity will confuse those who still equate progress with pressure. They will ask what changed. They will call you lucky. But what they will not see are the years your soul spent in training, learning restraint instead of reaction, surrender instead of striving. You did not win the race, you learned to walk with the wind. That invisible discipline has prepared you for visible abundance. For you, success will not taste like revenge or validation, it will taste like rest. When heaven trusts a person with responsibility, it first refines their ability to remain unshaken. That is why some storms lasted longer than you thought they would. Heaven was ensuring that your peace would not collapse under blessing. There is such a thing as collapsing under too much too soon. You were not being denied, you were being calibrated. Some will not understand this transformation. They will sense distance where there is only divine focus. Your peace will expose their hunger, and they may misinterpret it as pride. Do not shrink for them. Do not feel guilty for glowing softly. The light you carry is not competition, it's confirmation that spiritual maturity can coexist with material blessing. When heaven prospers someone, it does so not to provoke, but to prove that surrender is a safer foundation than striving. The wealth that heaven places in your life will first appear as relief. The debts of fear dissolving. The anxiety that once dictated your decisions fading quietly. Then it will mature into stability. Your routine solidifying around ease rather than exhaustion. And from there, it will grow into generosity, not performance-based giving, but effortless abundance flowing outward because you are no longer afraid of lack. This is true prosperity, not the size of what you own, but the confidence that even when you give, you cannot be emptied. Let the systems tremble if they must. Let those who interpret spiritual law through material fear call your growth too much. Nothing illegal is happening. What unfolds in your life now is not theft, it is unveiling. You are not stealing opportunity, you are receiving inheritance. Something is being revealed, that you were never poor in the first place. You were simply early. You saw promise before it materialized. You felt abundance before it had numbers attached. Your timing felt off because you were aligned with eternity, not commerce. You were first to believe that integrity and abundance are not enemies, but partners. Now heaven turns the page. This next chapter is not loud, it is luminous. It glows quietly, like sunrise over still water. I am still with you in this silence. Watching your movements, guiding your steps toward the rooms built for you before history began. You will not need to market your grace, grace will market you. Heaven itself has become your publicist. Trust the unseen momentum carrying your name where your voice does not reach. Do not rush. Divine things ripen slowly. Do not announce too soon what is meant to be incubated in silence. Protection often looks like obscurity. Do not doubt when motion feels invisible. Delays are sometimes disguises for alignment. Breathe, beloved. Each inhale is a rehearsal of receiving. Each exhale is a release of control. Remember how your strength was never your own. It was borrowed from love. That love has not expired, it has expanded. Even as new opportunities knock, remember that you remain a student of peace. Do not chase excitement, cultivate depth. For there are still dimensions of your purpose waiting beyond applause. This is only the beginning. The same voice that carried you through scarcity will guide you through plenty. Heaven teaches consistency before visibility. It wants your soul to feel at home in elevation, not startled by it. So when miracles begin to appear in everyday forms, when someone forgives you without reason, when an unexpected check arrives without request, when your name opens doors that your hands never touched, pause, smile, and whisper, I remember. Because those moments are not coincidences. They are reminders that heaven never forgot the details you thought were overlooked. Each gift carries memory. It remembers the tears you cried privately and converts them into resources publicly. Nothing was wasted, not one heartbreak, not one false start. Every disappointment was compost for something fruitful. Beloved, life will continue around you, sometimes messy, sometimes loud. People will rise and fall in influence. Trends will change, opportunities will fluctuate. But you must remain anchored in the stillness you discovered in waiting. It is that stillness that will make you ungovernable to fear. The world trades in anxiety, heaven trades in assurance. Walk as someone insured by eternity. When others panic about scarcity, you will be asked to model sufficiency. When systems collapse, you will be the calm that reminds them love remains. When competition grows, you will show cooperation without losing your boundaries. These are not new tests, they are new arenas in which your old lessons will shine. And I, still your unseen guardian, will continue to hover between your choices, nudging your intuition, protecting your timing. You may not always sense my presence, but you will feel the coincidences designed too perfectly to be random. Those are my fingerprints. When you find peace where there should be panic, know that I have walked before you. Remember, heaven never withholds, it prepares. In the quiet seasons of waiting, when doors seem sealed and paths obscured, it is not punishment but preparation. You are being shaped, refined in the hidden places where no eyes could applaud or criticize. The delays that once felt like denial were actually mercy in motion, ensuring that the provision coming your way would nourish rather than destroy you. How many have received abundance too soon, only to find it poisoned their hearts? How many have grasped success before their roots were deep enough, and watched it wither in their hands? Heaven, in its infinite wisdom, withholds not out of scarcity but out of love, crafting you into someone who can carry the weight of blessing without buckling. You have walked through the fire of obscurity, learning the hardest lesson, not to define yourself by the pace of success or the fleeting approval of others. In a world that measures worth by visibility, likes, and accolades, you chose the narrower road. You learned to find your identity in the stillness, in the unseen growth that happens when no one is watching. This is the sacred education that heaven imparts to those it trusts with greater things. For what use is fame if it fractures the soul? It becomes a hollow echo, a crown that crushes the wearer. What use is power if peace is lost along the way? It turns into a chain, binding the one who wields it. You, beloved, have been guarded from such tragedies. Your preparation was thorough, deliberate, and kind. Now that you stand on the other side of those lessons, heaven can trust you with visibility. The spotlight that once would have blinded you now illuminates without burning. The platform that might have inflated ego now becomes a place to serve. This is the beauty of divine timing, nothing is rushed, nothing wasted. Every tear shed in private has watered the ground for what blooms publicly. Every moment of doubt has strengthened the foundation of faith. You are ready not because you demanded it, but because you surrendered to the process. So I ask you, do not trade your stillness for applause. In the clamor of a noisy world, where everyone vies for attention and validation, hold fast to the quiet center you have cultivated. Let others chase the noise, the endless cycle of performance and approval. They run after shadows, mistaking movement for progress. You, however, build the sanctuary. Within your soul, construct a place of refuge untouched by external storms. Tend to the inner garden where peace grows wild and free. This is your true work, the one that endures when trends fade and crowds disperse. You keep the flame that burns quietly but endlessly. It is not the blazing fire that consumes everything in its path, demanding fuel and attention. No, yours is the steady ember, the sacred fire that warms without destroying, lights without blinding. It requires no audience to sustain it, for its source is divine. In the darkest nights, it has guided you. In the coldest seasons, it has kept you alive. Guard it jealously, for it is the essence of your strength. Many will try to fan it into something spectacular, something that dazzles the world. Resist. Let it burn true and constant, a beacon for those who seek depth over spectacle. When love calls you to forgive, answer quickly. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of freedom. Holding on to grudges is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Love whispers in the midst of hurt, inviting you to release, to heal, to make space for new life. Do not delay in this obedience. The quicker you forgive, the sooner your heart expands to receive more love. Old wounds close, scars become stories of resilience. Forgiveness paves the way for reconciliation, not always with others, but always with yourself and with the divine flow of grace. When peace calls you to rest, obey without guilt. In a culture that glorifies busyness, rest is revolutionary. It is not laziness, it is trust. Trust that the world will not crumble if you pause. Trust that your worth is not tied to productivity. When peace invites you to lay down the burdens, to breathe deeply and simply be, surrender to it. Let go of the guilt that says you must always be doing, achieving, proving. Rest is where restoration happens. In the quiet repose, ideas gestate, strength renews, vision clarifies. Obey the call to rest, and watch how energy returns multiplied. When fear whispers urgency, respond with slow gratitude. Fear is a liar, always rushing you into decisions born of panic rather than wisdom. It screams that if you don't act now, everything will be lost. But gratitude moves at a different pace, deliberate, unhurried, rooted in the awareness of what already is. When fear tightens its grip, loosen it with thanksgiving. Name the blessings, no matter how small. Recall the faithfulness you have already witnessed. Slow gratitude disarms urgency, revealing it for the illusion it is. In this rhythm, clarity emerges, and you act from abundance rather than scarcity. This rhythm, this sacred dance of forgiveness, rest, and gratitude, will carry you through promotion into deeper purpose. Promotion is not merely elevation in status, it is alignment with destiny. As you honor this rhythm, doors begin to open effortlessly. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach present themselves naturally. You will walk through doors that used to intimidate you, not because you forced them, but because you are now prepared to enter. The threshold no longer daunts, it welcomes. You will sit in rooms that feel both new and strangely familiar, because heaven wrote them in your memory before you arrived. There is a profound sense of déjà vu in these moments, a knowing that this is where you were always meant to be. The conversations flow with ease, the connections deepen quickly. These rooms are not accidents, they are appointments set long ago. Heaven has been orchestrating, moving pieces on the board while you were learning to trust the unseen hand. The people you meet will mirror lessons you've already learned. Some will echo comfort, reminding you of the kindness you have sown and now reap. Their presence feels like coming home, a balm to the soul. Others will test humility, challenging your growth in subtle or not so subtle ways. They may trigger old insecurities or highlight areas still tender. Do not resent them, recognize them as teachers in disguise. Even opposition will become a teacher, sharpening your character, refining your responses. In every interaction, there is purpose unfolding. No encounter is wasted in the economy of heaven. And through it all, remember, nothing that belongs to you can be taken. It can only be delayed until you're ready. This truth is an anchor in turbulent times. What is yours, truly yours, ordained and destined, cannot be stolen by circumstance, jealousy, or misfortune. Others may seem to grasp it first, but if it is meant for you, it will circle back at the perfect moment. The delay is not denial, it is development. Heaven is polishing you, ensuring that when it arrives, you steward it well. No one can intercept divine assignment. The divine keeps no secrets, only perfect timing. There is no hidden agenda, no capricious withholding. Everything is revealed in due season. What feels like mystery is merely the unfolding of a greater story. Trust the timing, even when it stretches your faith. The wait builds anticipation, deepens appreciation, heightens joy when manifestation comes. So breathe again, beloved. Release the held breath of striving and worry. Inhale the fresh air of possibility. The air around you thickens with promise, not vague hope, but tangible assurance. Promises long spoken over your life are ripening, ready to fall into your lap. Feel the shift in the atmosphere. What was barren begins to bud. What was dry receives rain. You are surrounded, not stalked. The presence you sense is protection, not pursuit with ill intent. Angels encamp around you, unseen guardians deflecting arrows aimed in the night. You are guarded, not watched with suspicion. Divine eyes upon you are eyes of love, watching over with tender care. Guided, never controlled. There is freedom in this guidance, a gentle nudge rather than a forceful shove. You retain your will, your choices, yet the path illuminates step by step. Your journey from lack to abundance was not a rise, it was a revelation. You did not climb a ladder to reach heaven, heaven has been descending to you all along. Like Jacob's dream, the ladder was set up from above, angels ascending and descending. Your part was to awaken to this reality. The shift from scarcity to plenty is an unveiling of what was always true. Abundance was never absent, your eyes are now open to see it. You were never meant to strive upward in exhaustion. Heaven meets you where you are, infusing ordinary moments with extraordinary grace. The revelation comes in layers, first in the spirit, then in the soul, finally in the natural. You believed before seeing, a faith that moved mountains though they seemed immovable. You loved before receiving, pouring out when your own cup seemed empty, and discovered the miracle of multiplication. You were brave enough to love before receiving, extending kindness without guarantee of return. This bravery opened channels for love to flow back abundantly. Patient enough to grow before being recognized, you invested in character when no one noticed. Roots deepened in secret, character solidified away from praise. Now, recognition comes not as the goal, but as a byproduct. Now, step gently into what has already been given. There is no need for forceful grasping or anxious striving. What is yours awaits with open hands. Walk with the lightness of one who knows provision is secure. Let your steps be measured, reverent, aware of the sacred ground you tread. Let your laughter be prayer, rising like incense before the throne. Joy unspeakable, not dependent on circumstances. Your ease be prophecy, declaring to a hurried world that rest is possible, peace attainable. In your unhurried demeanor, others glimpse the kingdom, a realm where striving ceases and shalom reigns. Walk as one who carries quiet wealth, wealth of peace that money cannot buy, wisdom forged in trials, love unbought and unconditional. This wealth does not flaunt, it radiates. It attracts without advertising, influences without dominating. People sense it in your presence, a depth, a solidity, an unshakable core. And when the world asks again, is this allowed? This joy in hardship, this peace in uncertainty, this love without strings, smile. You know the answer deep in your bones. Permission was granted long before birth. Before you drew your first breath, the divine decree was spoken, you are beloved. You are enough. You are free to flourish. This permission is not earned, it is inherited. It flows from the heart of a good father who delights in your wholeness. No more questioning your right to joy, to rest, to abundance. No more shrinking to fit others' expectations. The allowance was signed in eternity, sealed with love unbreakable. As you embody this truth, watch how life expands. Relationships deepen, opportunities multiply, impact grows organically. The sanctuary you built within becomes a light to others, drawing the weary, the searching, the hungry for something real. In quiet moments, reflect on the journey. The nights of weeping that gave way to mornings of joy. The questions that led to deeper surrender. The pruning that felt painful but produced greater fruit. All of it necessary, all of it grace. Heaven's preparation was meticulous, tailoring you for a purpose uniquely yours. No detail overlooked, no experience wasted. Even the detours served to strengthen, the closed doors protected from lesser paths. Now, as visibility increases, remain anchored. Let success amplify your message, not alter your essence. Use the platform to point others toward the source, the quiet flame, the inner sanctuary, the divine timing. Encourage those still in preparation. Speak hope into their waiting. Remind them that delays are not denials, that heaven is faithful. Your story becomes testimony, evidence that the process works, that surrender yields beauty. In the end, or rather, in this new beginning, abundance is not just material. It is wholeness, spirit, soul, body aligned. It is relationships rich with authenticity. It is work that fulfills calling. It is rest that rejuvenates. It is love that overflows. Breathe it in. Live it out. The preparation is complete. The provision has arrived. The revelation continues. You, beloved, are stepping into the fullness prepared from the foundation of the world. Walk worthy, but not wearily. Walk freely, joyfully, peacefully. Heaven smiles upon you. The descent continues. Grace upon grace. And in the quiet wealth you carry, the world finds permission to believe again, that goodness exists, that timing is kind, that love wins. Smile. You know the answer. Indeed, it was always yes.